Tuesday, July 21st, St. Cloud Metropolitan Transit Commission Board is called to order. Let the record reflect that everyone is here. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
No.
None. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. The agenda is adopted. The consent agenda, items 5 through 8.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is adopted. The open forum, is there anyone here to speak at the open forum or anywhere online? Okay, seeing no one there, we will go on to general business. Number 9, recognition of the Governor's Safety Award.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm sharing with you the Minnesota Safety Council Governor's Workplace Safety Award, bronze level for 2025. The Minnesota Safety Council Governor's Workplace Safety Award recognizes organizations across the state for their commitment to preventing workplace injuries and fostering a strong culture of safety. Award recipients are evaluated on safety program effectiveness, continuous improvement efforts, and injury performance compared to state and national industry averages over a 3-year period. Presented annually at the Minnesota Safety and Health Conference, these awards reflect the dedication of employees at every level who make safety a priority in their daily work. Metrobus is proud to have earned the bronze level Governor's Workplace Safety Award, recognizing our safety performance as better than the 50th percentile of either the state or national average for our industry. This achievement is a testament to the commitment, vigilance, and teamwork of all the employees in helping create a safer workplace for one another and the communities we serve. So this was a long time coming. We've been working on this for quite a while and we'll continue to strive to do better. So, but this is a good start. It's taken us a while to get here.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right.
We'll take a
Thank you.
picture.
Over here?
Yes.
It's about rocks size, man. Oh, we take anything else?
Oh, do you want to give us stuff?
I'll just go.
Yes, all of us.
Is it dressed up?
No, I'll keep the vest on. Safety. Safety, right?
Sure, it's not gonna end the end.
Okay.
Sullivan.
Yep.
Sideways.
Stand a little bit.
We're scooting more.
Everybody right here. I'm filling in for Nate, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you.
When was the last time you got one of those?
The first time.
First time ever?
First
How long has it been around?
The Governor's Safety Award?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess for that. This is the
First year.
It's the first time.
I quit counting.
Well, congrats.
There's a lot of factors that go
Yeah.
into this, so.
A lot of safety
That's good.
metrics and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, then we'll move on to item number 10 under general business, consideration of fiscal year 2027 budget and tax levy. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Last month, we presented the budget and levy draft for your review. We posted it for 30 days. There were no comments from the public. So today we are bringing back the same budget, no changes for final approval to be adopted as Metrobus's FY27 budget.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question, sure. As we look forward with the new transit center, what's that gonna do to our levy?
Not much. It will be the same, a little bit increase to cover operating costs.
Okay. Cause I'm one that's gonna be really watching the levies from all these organizations that have levying power now.
Mhm.
Because the state seems to be, feds and the state seem to be passing things down enough to the local cities to begin with. And there's only so much money to go around.
Yes.
And I think we really have to be aware of that. My personal comment.
Yeah, right.
One question I have is on, under general fund miscellaneous expenses. Our miscellaneous bucket is moving up 51%. What's driving that? This would be 50999.
$50999, which was the last 2 or 3.
You're showing it's moving from $30,000 of the miscellaneous expense bucket to 45,400. So 51.1% increase, or 15,350. I don't love miscellaneous expenses in a budget, and then to see a move 51%.
Give me 1 second, let me find
Yeah.
the line item.
You said it was 50999, right?
Yeah, that's what it's, division category.
Miscellaneous.
That is part of property taxes that we pay. So we call that as miscellaneous since we don't pay anything. So that's for the HMA building.
Okay, so that's an expense, not
Yes, it's an
a-
expense, it's not a revenue.
Yeah, okay. And so that's
All 5,000 are expenses.
a property tax expense,
Yes.
but we don't pay property taxes.
We don't pay property taxes, but there's this little bit of amount that we pay for the HMA, for the transit center building. So for everything general, we don't, but this is a little bit of amount that we have to pay every year.
And so our taxes are going up $15,000.
We have that budgeted, and then we have any other expenses that will be related to probably maybe renting equipment for anything that is unforeseen.
Right, miscellaneous.
Yes.
Um,
So you only went up 15,000.
from 30.
Compared to 2025, which was actually higher than than 2026. So in 2026, I dropped down the budget, but 25 actuals was 37,000. So for me not to shoot myself in the foot, I went up a little bit just to make sure that my budget amount aligns.
And so you're saying of the $15,000 increase, 5,000 is attributed to St. Cloud raising taxes?
For the building. So if you look at 24, 42,000 was the actual spent.
Yep.
25 actual was 37.
Yep.
In 26, I budgeted low for that expense account. So in 27, just to compensate and make sure that I'm not shooting myself in the foot, and to also account for the yearly minimal increases for operating costs, I went up a little bit. So that's why it looks like that it's higher than previous, because in 26 it was budgeted low.
Sure, you're going up, call it 8,000 year over year, but 15,000 from your budget.
Yes.
Or not year over year, but 25 to 27.
Mhm.
And help me understand what's driving the increase. It's just a slush fund that, hey, I don't know what to expect,
It's
or
not a slush fund. I can pull invoices or items coded to that account and send that out, or I can rename this to remove it from miscellaneous account and give it the proper name.
I think moving forward, it'd be great to have that better identified so that we, 'cause miscellaneous honestly could just be anything.
I agree.
And as I guess earlier mentioned we are a taxing authority, and so I want to make sure that we are being good stewards of those tax dollars. I'm not suggesting we're not, but when it's miscellaneous, it's hard to understand what it is.
Mhm.
And so make sure I hear you right. Some of it is to compensate for the unforeseen, and the other part is to compensate for tax side. Is that accurate
That building.
for this building we're sitting in?
No, so we're,
Transit.
so the Mobility Training Center,
Downtown.
so in general, we're a tax exempt entity.
Yep.
But because we rent out a portion of that, then we have
That
to pay
aspect.
taxes on the rental.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And that's all based on, so that would fluctuate year to year. Is there a way just to put that in as tax revenue or operation of the, yeah, it's just defining it. I mean, most budgets, you see it as operational, expenses or.
Real estate taxes.
Yeah, I didn't realize we paid real estate.
Yeah, I didn't
taxes
either.
till just-
I mean, if you.
But that makes sense if you rent out part of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Multiply them.
takes away the exemption because we're getting rent for it.
Yes,
There's no exemption on that building then, or just?
What's that?
just that portion.
Just that portion, the second
That you-
floor.
Yeah, if you identify line item tax. Tax payment or
Yeah.
real estate taxes.
I am getting a better financial software. Every line item, we have the correct definition.
Is that lease, so I mean, that's not rolled into the lease overall, lease payment that, what's the, who's renting that space?
HMA,
HMA.
HMA Architects.
Right.
They've been there since day one.
Yep. All right, any other? Yep.
And second is more procedural for our board. I think over the last 2 years, we've had a closed session to talk about compensation leading into the budget. This year, there was a personnel meeting or committee meeting that determined comp or helped determine comp. Rather than the route I anticipated we were going as a board, which was following a closed session so we could have discussion. Not sure what drove that, or if I'm recalling that incorrectly.
I think when in the past, we set that up. Like you had requested a closed session when we were going on more of a merit type increase. As the budget was explained the last time, and I think it's in that memo, it shipped to a step system. And we set up that meeting so that we could look at least I'm recalling this, we could look at what that merit based interest or whatever it would be, COLA or whatever. We set that up when we went from steps to that. We're going back to steps from what I understand in the last meeting. So it was brought up at the last one. That's why I was wondering. Nobody mentioned anything. That's why I remember us discussing it at the last meeting, but nobody mentioned anything about going into closed session for steps.
That was last year, wasn't it?
If,
The
yeah,
last 2 years we've done that.
Yeah, because we went away from steps and went to merit base. And we needed to have a discussion because the only person that would be a review would be the board for that top position. That's going back to steps, which was before, and I don't recall ever having a meeting about steps. Steps are automatic.
Yeah, it was, I believe it was the last 2 years we've done that. We talked about continuing that on because, that position was stepped out.
Okay.
And so we had reached the top step. And so then it was a board discussion of what do we do with compensation each year moving forward? And that's most appropriate to have in a closed session than open session.
I do have a comment, sorry, before you. That was my first budget. And if I remember correctly, I was told that instead of putting me in that spot, a compensation study needs to be conducted to get it back on the step system. So before Sunny left, she was in the process of doing the comp study that was completed. And I did mention this during the last, when I brought the draft budget last month, that the compensation was completed and that everybody will be going back on the step system.
And was that an action that the board took to go back to a step system or?
What the board wanted, the compensation study. We had that discussion to see where everybody was at.
Yeah.
And under that, we had, I think I recall, there's a review of the compensation study that was in our packet a meeting ago or 2 meetings ago.
Right. And then
That
we discussed that with the personnel
Stated
committee.
that to go to and then to the personnel committee member. There's only one person on it. And then that's the recommendation. We had that discussion last week or the last meeting about it. That was going back on the steps system.
Yeah, and
Based on that.
the question I had last meeting was who is our personnel committee, and Ken is the one. So, again, to me, it felt off. Didn't feel like having one person of the board make a recommendation without the board having full discussion on it. But I don't know that I'm changing the outcome of this anyway, so.
But remember, it was decided by, remember 2 years ago when I maxed out, so you're
Yep.
right, when I maxed out of my step system back then, that's when we went into this kind of like merit pay. And then it was told by the board that I shouldn't be deciding how much increase I get.
Correct.
And this when we decided to have the closed meeting. And then at the last go around, it was decided that we do a class comp study, just have an outside entity do a class and comp study based on my position. So that way I could go back on the step system. And that was the decision that was made back a year ago when we had the same discussion.
Okay.
So
I
I
knew
just followed those directions and then directed my staff to do the class and comp study as directed by the board.
I knew a comp study was needed as we were up for union negotiations. I guess that was the context I was operating under, is we needed a comp study because we would every 3 years for union negotiations.
No, we haven't done comp studies
We do
very
not.
much at all
Okay.
over the years. Maybe 2 in 20 years, if that.
Yeah, since I've been here, we've done about two
Yeah.
class and comp
Prior to
studies.
that, I don't recall ever doing comp study. I remember the discussion, we did the comp study and that's, I mean, some of that, at least, I don't remember all, but some of the dialogue was if we're gonna be setting something based on merit, it's a challenging thing to do in this meeting, to then have a more of a, that was, I think, the personnel closed meeting. But going by this, it's listed. I mean, you know what the steps are, so they're all public, before any meeting, so. Anyone can pull that, not only for that position, but any position that's non-union, because it's steps. And change those. Any other discussion? Budget? We have, so the consideration of the final 2027 budget and tax levy, there's two separate motions we need here, one for the budget. Is there a motion to approve the budget for 2027? Okay, so there's a motion to approve the budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion on the budget for 2027? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 3-2. Okay, resolution setting the final tax levy on property tax transit. So item 11, the levy. Any discussion on the levy? Okay, no discussion. Is there a motion to approve?
All motion to approve the levy.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That passes 3-2. Okay, department update, dial-a-ride and dispatch.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Updating you on the dial-a-ride and dispatch divisions. Starting with some achievements that we received in 2025, 2026. So we did have national representation at the National Rodeo. We took 2 dial-a-ride operators. They both placed in first and in the top 5 in the 2025 state rodeo. That was David Peacock and Keith Drake. And they participated in that national rodeo in May of 2026 in Omaha. This past weekend, we had 3 dial-a-ride operators attend the 2026 state rodeo, all 3 placing in the top 10 with David Peacock taking first place at that one again. Staffing update for dispatch. We currently have 1 opening in our dispatch team, and we are starting to prepare for hiring of dispatchers for the Western Transit Center. Call statistics. So in 2025, the call center and the transit center handled approximately 82,492 calls. The average call duration was about 2 minutes. So far to date, we've managed approximately 56,337 calls. Again, the average call duration is still at about 2 minutes. In addition to handling calls, our dispatch staff also manages several online chats and working with the operators daily. Important to note that those call numbers are approximate and they don't include calls that are transferred to and from the different locations. We have worked through some system upgrades with our PASS program, which is our dial-a-ride scheduling software. That's been kind of an ongoing thing, tweaking the different settings to get that to improve our efficiency and quality of service. Our next phase is to look at implementing a passenger portal for our dial-a-ride passengers to book rides, edit their rides, and view their rides. For our dial-a-ride operators, we currently have 2 openings, working on getting those filled. Our ridership to date, or our fiscal year 2026 to date ridership is at 119,190. That's an increase of about 3.51% from the same period of 2025, which was 115,151. In 2025, we did an average of 2.76 passengers per hour, and we're currently at 2.89 passengers per hour, and still operating on average on-time performance of 99%. For our buses, we currently just received 6 new dial-a-ride buses, and we have 5 more going on the line in the coming months. Some of our goals for the upcoming year continuing to maintain that on-time performance of 95% or greater. This is achieved by monitoring ridership and on-time performance monthly, collaborating with the operators and the dispatchers on ride efficiency and adjusting schedules as necessary. Always continuing to monitor and reduce our call hold times. And this is accomplished by monitoring those call levels, the hold times, and the call lengths, and working closely with the dispatchers to improve efficiency and adjust the schedules as needed. And we're continuing to work through software enhancements, as I mentioned, with our past software and our current software, always working on trying to get that tweak just perfectly, which is a challenge. And we'll continue to look for other software enhancements as they become available.
Questions then? It,
Mr. Chairman, maybe I'll direct it over this way. But you mentioned, first thing you said was you're looking at hiring dispatchers for the new transit center.
Yes.
How many employees are we adding over there?
5
5 total?
dispatchers,
How about total?
5 dispatchers.
Total employees.
It'll just be the dispatchers.
For
About staff.
Dispatchers, no other staff?
Just 5 dispatchers at the
Yeah,
train.
the bus operators will just be, the bus operators already counted in our FTEs.
Okay.
So the buses will just be coming and going, just like if they were coming and going downtown.
But you're gonna be redoing the routes though too, right?
Right.
Has there been any expectations on how many, still not, it's gonna be 0? Total employees?
Well, we're, like we shared last time, we're implementing all of the phases now. So
Okay.
there is going to be, that's all covered in the budget. That was all covered in all of that.
I have a
we're-
suggestion about the budget. It's kind of old school, but I think that we need to have a meeting, a board meeting, an open board meeting with the budget as we move forward for next year. And let's not wait till a month or 2 before. We can start that budget a month or 2 before, but I'd like to go through it line by line if we have to. And do some projections. What are the changes? And I know you wrote it in your thing, in your summary, but I want to talk about it too. It just seems like there's a little disconnect here sometimes, my own personal opinion again. If we're spending that kind of money and we're taxing our taxpayers $4.9 million, I think we have to have a little bit more buy-in here. I'm just speaking for myself, can't speak for anyone else here.
Are you saying get away?
I feel like I'm out there sometimes. And you get the packet, and it's like, what the hell? The heck is this? You're recording today?
Yeah,
Sorry,
Blue
so-
Teams.
But I'm being honest, but I have way more. I had way more to do with the budget being on the council in the city in Sauk Rapids than I do here.
So you're saying
Right.
just have, so like right now, for example, we bring it 30 days in advance, so that way we can have discussion of this comment. So what you're saying is even before we even present the budget in the draft form, you want to have discussion as far as like maybe an additional 2 months out prior? And then
It's
just,
gotta be prior to 30
Any
days.
changes
I need
here?
more than 30 days to look at the budget like this. And I want to see the changes. Why, where are the changes? What are they? Why? How much is local? How much isn't? As we add dispatchers, is any of that federal, reimbursed federally? Do we have a 20%? What's our skin in the game? Don't answer that now.
well,
I'm
20%,
just throwing it out.
it's always been 80-20 for the most
Okay.
part. Some years it's been 95-5,
Right.
which the board is aware of, because we bring it to the board and we
Right.
give you updates as far as if the state.
I
is
know it doesn't have
doing things
anything to do
differently.
with you.
That's okay.
Just when you said that dispatchers, I want to ask the question over here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Just to that piece, and I wanna, I know we, and I probably do because I'm running the meeting. We kind of joke about trying to create an efficient meeting and it goes short. But there's never, our meetings are pretty short. But we block, there's no limit on how much time we can spend. And this has always been the budget process. And I've been on this board for 22 years, and it's always come this way. And those who've been on the board know the process, the preliminary. That's why we do the preliminary. We always have, it's, we could be here for 2 hours just asking questions when the preliminary budget comes out. We also have that whole month, just like the public does. The public, these are all online. From the moment that budget goes up, it's online. So no different than our budgets or budgets that used to have in the city. We have lots of opportunity for that discussion and questions ahead of time. And I think it's a little tough, for our chief financial officer, when you get questions on the last one, when we present it ahead of time. And it's nothing wrong with that. You can ask questions, but we have that whole month to do that. And there's nothing that says we can't have a special meeting. In fact, I know there have been times in the past where we could have a special meeting every week, not a special closed meeting, but a special meeting just on the budget. So and I don't want to be defensive for the folks that are sitting over there, but they put a lot of effort into it. And we come in here once a month for a half hour, 15-20 minutes. And quite frankly, we're probably not giving the due diligence to that. I don't have questions because I read through this. If I have a question, I go right to the CFO. But we have an obligation. So we're the ones voting for the budget. So we have that obligation. I don't know different than a city. I was going to suggest, maybe not this, I was going to do it at a future meeting, but I really think, I know Ryan has done some internal type working with the organization, bringing somebody in. I suggested in fact, to Ken, I think our personnel committee, I asked the personnel committee, I think we need to have some type of retreat with the board and leadership, because I think that would be the questions, especially going through all that. To me, it would just make more sense to have that discussion so that the board is really knowledgeable. And I've been on the board for 20 years, so I feel that I've seen things happen. So maybe I have more idea of how this process works than folks that have been on the board for a less period of time. So maybe it makes sense to have that type of more, maybe do it for a half a day. Spend a whole day and go through, maybe have it at the transit center. We're going to be opening up a new one in Wake Park. I think it would be great for the board to have a better understanding of the operation overall. And maybe that would help when the budget discussion comes forward, because you're doing a lot of that as it's happening. You understand the need for dispatch. You understand the need. I know we put a lot of resources in. That's why I asked if this was the first time we ever got that award for safety, because there's a lot of work that's put in there. But I think it would be helpful, or as a team, and I think it'd be better team building too, if the board and the leadership team were in a retreat, kind of look at, maybe the roles. I think we could have a better discussion on that. And again, there's still no opposition. Anybody could have tabled the budget today and went on to the next, a week from now. I think the deadline is by the end of, next week, 31st or whatever it is, whenever the calendar is. But in deference to that, I think it should be our responsibility to really know what's in there, and be prepared. So when we come to the dais here, that we're ready to make those votes in deference to our.
Okay, I'm prepared. I read it, but I come up with questions. You brought up a good question. I didn't even see that piece. Miscellaneous. by talking, if we have a meeting, we can actually discuss it. I'm not gonna pick up the call and say, hey, Ryan, what do you think of the budget? Or I'm not gonna call Wade Park and say, what's in this budget? Do you know anything about this? And pick up the phone, call Ryan or Nene or whoever. I'm prepared. It's just that you go back the last couple of years, what's our levy? What's the levy been the last 3-4 years?
Before I started, a levy increase did not happen, which caused a shortfall. Before that, we applied for grant. The levy covers both the operating and the capital, which is matched at 80-20. It was at 3.8 when I came in. We had a conversation that the budget wasn't increased for 2 years. If I could get that single increase to get us to per to cover operating, we went to 4.4. And I only did a 500 increase to cover operational costs for the budget. I also stated that our fund balance is looking healthy and the CBA is happening this year. We have about 15 million of a capital purchase. But at Metro Bus, because we have a healthy fund balance, we'll be using part of that to cover any cost that the levy does not cover. All that information was also included in my narrative that I presented in the budget draft.
And I realize that I read your budget. I read the summary. So I am prepared. If you want to take me on in the budget, you probably don't know me very well, but
Which is why I like your mic.
finances over in the city of Sauk Rapids. We went from 28 million in debt in 2001 to about 6 million. And I'm not saying I had a lot to do with it, but we have a good finance director, and I'm not saying you're not. But I don't want to have surprises. I want to ask questions, and I don't like being rushed.
Well, we
And I
haven't
do like
rushing
that.
anybody. I'm not saying that we rushing.
No,
Right.
I do like that. And that's why we present for draft. I get everything. That way I can do my homework, pull information, and then present the final.
I think what you saw happen
Yeah, go ahead. Ryan.
here was that, yes, the budget process outside of executive compensation, the budget process has been the same. Yes, you've been on for 20 years. The next two most tenured board members voted against it. So that I think should send a signal to our board as a whole that our current process isn't working or didn't work this year. And we should revisit that. The general public doesn't know that we can't call each other to say, hey, what do you think about it? Yes, we can reach out to staff directly and I can ask the question that I asked today, but the rest of the board does not benefit from that question when it's done individually. That is where a board meeting, so that we can all have open questions to staff. The board is the one really owning the budget and the taxing authority to our residents. So I guess I would ask from the board perspective, like, what were our goals? Do we have any guiding principles that we've offered to staff of budget, of levy? Or should we remain a passive board, in my opinion, of they present whatever budget they need and we say yes or no? I prefer the former of us having a constructive conversation leading into the budget to give some guidance. We've had conversations with the board prior that our overall ridership is below historic norms. We can say it's COVID related. At some point, we got to admit that COVID's over and we're moving on. Yet our overall levy to the residents is higher than what it was when we had higher ridership. And so the overall operating cost, I'd like to dive into to understand how do we bring that back down to what I will consider a more appropriate level of cost for benefit to the general public. That to me isn't appropriate within the 30-day window when the budget has been put out to the public for public comment. That should be leading up into the budget creation moving forward. And so again, I think from a board chair, I would say, hey, how do we organize so that we can have open public conversation where the five of us can all speak freely and gain each other's perspectives rather than just suggest that we should go one-to-one with staff and it stays there.
I wasn't suggesting you go one-on-one. I think questions are good, but what you're advocating for is exactly the system we have. Because we have a preliminary budget that comes out a month ago. At that preliminary budget, everyone voted for it. That would be the time to actually question and say, wait a minute, hold on here. In fact, I asked the question at the last meeting, and we do set precedent because for all the time that I've been on the board with some other folks that are on the board here also, we've always, the guide has always been, don't raise the levy. Keep that levy flat. And almost every year, that budget comes back with that caveat. And when it doesn't, it's explained ahead of time. In this case, I asked the question at the last meeting, because that's the only piece I had too. I share your concerns, Kirk, because I had the same one. I asked the question at the last meeting, is this budget, would it be the levy be flat if not for the federal grant that we received? The answer was yes, it was because of the federal grant. Now, we have a choice as a board when that grant was available or when we applied for it. And remember, we as a board unanimously supported asking for the grant. We as a board unanimously supported accepting the grant. Those grants come with the 20%. So it does come out of our budget. Either we're going to cut 20%, or we're going to cut that money, or we're going to raise the levy. I'm comfortable, and I'm for 20 years I raised taxes in the city, and I'm very conscious of what taxpayers pay, and I'm really so here, especially when cities have the same thing. That's why I asked that question. I can, however, make an exception if we're getting a federal grant, which we have to replace those buses. There's no other way. We can't keep the buses operating. It's going to cost us way more long term. I'm okay with that temporary period of time to raise the levy, to match the grant. It blinks off. I mean, we do a budget every year, so we can make it blink off. But that would have been the system that you're asking us to do, to have this public discussion, starts when the preliminary levy. Somebody's got to give us a starting point. I don't know of any organization that doesn't have a starting point. Now, the starting point is philosophically built over years of us saying, wait a minute, don't raise that levy, try to keep this cost down. So that's where that starting point is. Same thing with compensation. We pushed back on the compensation. Okay, we don't like this merit. We want to have a comp study, and then come back with a comp study. You go to steps. They do it. So the reaction is there and the process is there. I don't know what if you had a preliminary levy 3 months before, that would give us 3 months, but there was a whole month. And at that last meeting, no one stopped us from asking questions. No one stopped to say, let's have more discussion for the next week. We could have just had a meeting. We could have had a meeting every single week, public meeting, open, and did that. So I don't see a breakdown in what they're bringing us. The breakdown probably is in the board. If there was more discussion that was necessary, probably would have been from the preliminary levy. In fact, it would have sent a louder message to have 2 people vote against the preliminary, because then I would say, if I was leadership, I'd say, wait a minute, you got, almost half the board doesn't like it, but the final is the final. The preliminary is here's what we're going to give you. It's no different than the cities. We always did a preliminary budget. You did the same thing at a city level in September. By the end of September, you have to have a preliminary levy that gives you the cap on the amount, but you have 2 months to have that discussion. And there's nothing stopping anyone from asking us as a board, can we have another meeting? Can we discuss a little bit more detail? Can we get into? That's why I'm suggesting, I think more the idea of having some type of retreats going forward as we have a whole year to prepare for the next budget, to get the leadership that we hire, that we support with the resources in the budget, to get so that they understand us more, and do a day-long retreat, have that open to the public. I think that's a great idea to have that discussion. But I don't think that the 3 folks over there in any way shortened our ability to have a discussion on this. In fact, you had a whole month to do it. Nobody at the last meeting said, I need more time. I need more answers. We as a board should do that. This is the day that the final, and this is where we're actually getting up to the actual calendar restriction, because we have to give a preliminary, we have to give a budget. I mean, we're on a fiscal year, not on a calendar year. So Dave, you had a question?
Yeah.
My input would be, at the city, St. Cloud, we have 4 study sessions to go over the budget and staff sit down with us. And then we have dialogue with the various council members and ask questions about the budget. And another 2 study sessions just on the enterprise fund. So I felt that dialogue piece is important sometimes, that we each notice something, bring it out, and then we flush it out, maybe as a group or something like that. So I do see maybe it would be helpful next year, something like that, looking at a study session where we sit down, have some staff with the various departments that we're going over that day and be able to ask questions about the budget. That could be a effective process.
That's exactly how we do it. We sit down for an afternoon, present why is your budget higher than last year? Explain to me why I should buy into it. And I think it's more transparency and everybody has a better understanding. So I agree with doing that.
And that's a good suggestion. I mean, if that's the way we want to do the budget ahead of time, I think I'm still kind of pushing for a retreat, but I think from a budgetary thing, I'd have no problem. I mean, we meet once a month. We can meet more than once a month. I'd be fine with that too. I'm retired, so I got more time than you guys that are in office. So I'm not, campaigning for anything. So, but if we need to meet more, I mean, we could do that. I don't have a problem with that. But we're at the point now. And the only reason I'm saying what I'm saying is because I'm trying to defend the process because I believe we were given that opportunity. So if it's anyone's fault, it's our fault as a board, not folks that are presenting to us.
Is that something we formally want to make a motion to say next year? We'd like to see this going forward to have a study session. I don't know. It's up to the.
I think we all know when the budget process is. We all know when that is. I mean, at any time, I think there's direction. If that's consensus, I would say, I would hope that we sometime in August or September this year have some type of retreat where the board and leadership can get together. We bring in somebody outside and have, I don't know if you've had boards in your city or retreats. We have retreats all the time. They're very helpful. It helps deal with the overall, and I think it would be good for us to get, we meet as a board once a month, and it's a short meeting, and not everybody makes all the meetings either. So it's to have something that's maybe a full day to have or a couple days, and get to the transit center, get to the new facilities, get to the mobility center, meet with staff and kind of get an idea and overall a better, the operations. I think it's a lot easier too. We spend, we're spending a significant amount of money. If you look at the total levy and what we have from federal and state, I think we should have a really good handle on that as to what's happening today. It also can answer the question about, what's new we're going into a whole new system that we spent a lot of money. And that's, we put a lot of that money, resources in the beginning, knowing that there's going to be a cost in the future. So I think we put a lot into that route, and all those public hearings where all those folks were at. I think it's a good idea for us to know that, especially as we're in that implementation stage and going into the new transit center. It's going to be in Wade Park too. So, but
Dave Masters, to your point, I would like us to have that conversation in May,
okay,
rather than June preliminary coming out. I think most of us have voiced that that's what norm to us is having that earlier, and so that we're able to support the preliminary that comes out and support the final that comes out. That to me is more external facing, to say, hey, public, hey, residents, hey, who's going to be paying for this? Here's our preliminary budget. So they're able to ask those questions. Yes, we certainly are as well, but to me, that 30-day window doesn't feel like a board time to ask questions. It feels like the public time to ask questions. So I think if we could back that into May, that feels more appropriate from a board perspective.
and that's fine, Mayor April, it's fine.
I do have a question and a clarification on it. So from your point, you said you wanted to see it ahead of time, okay? So come next year in May, the board wants to meet with each department lead to review their budget. Do you want the department's budget sent ahead of time, or on that particular day, everybody shows up with their budget to review with the board?
And maybe you want to, if it's possible, to move your system up in April. and then have that in May? Is that
I
required?
can do my in-house budget review anytime because I always go based off of actuals
Sure.
through 9 months down the road. I look at how we're sitting and then use that to prepare my budget. And then I ask each individual department to give me their estimates or what they anticipate their budget is going to look like. With that, I build a comprehensive budget that I present. So now we're breaking it down to where in May, because May, June, July, right? This is July. So I can move my own timeline forward to meet internally with my department.
That would be great.
As I do, and then get that prepared. Then in May, each department will present each department head will present their budget to the board for review. Whatever has been agreed, I'll take that back in-house and prepare my comprehensive draft to present to the board in June,
That'd be great.
which will be open for discussion. And then in July, I'll present the final thought. Am I understanding that clearly?
Because I heard two
Okay.
different things too, because I heard first that we have the study session where the budget will be in the draft form, and we can have this discussion to say, this is what the budget is gonna look like. Get the board's input, get leadership's input. So Nene, for example, would develop the budget based on all the departments and bring all that information to that study session. And then leadership and the board will have that discussion, the overall budget with the department's input. But now you're saying you want to have the departments bring the budget themselves to the board. So
Yeah,
I just
think
want to
the
make
way-
sure.
To me, it made sense.
Okay.
The way she explained doing it. I think if that's acceptable, I have no problem with that. I
So-
mean,
I think
you're getting a little into the department level, which I'm a little uncomfortable.
Right, that's why I was
micromanaging.
asking. I don't want to get into the
But-
weeds, but
But I mean, that's why we have a CFO, but if that's what the board wants to do, and it's transparent.
I don't know if it's getting in the weeds, I'll give you an example. We used to do department heads well in advance of the budget. And of course, department heads come in and they need, now this sounds minimal compared, but we're a small city. They want to buy 3 police cars, they want to add 5 police officers, they need to add 3 public works three public works employees. And that gave us time to go, wait a minute, we need to prioritize which one's more important. Where are we at? When's the last time we added these people? What changed in the park department that we need to add parks people? Did we add another park? Why are we adding 5 new police officers? Where'd that come from? And it gave us time to look at and go, what can we afford to do? And we're not going to do all of it because we couldn't do everything they asked for. So that's what we did. I don't know.
You're more so,
Right.
That's exactly what we do.
Hold on a second. I should, yep. go ahead.
I think what Nene's asking for the clarification on is that we essentially, I'll give you an example. I have I have 2 operations managers, I have a maintenance manager, I have a training and safety manager. So if I have to pull those people and bring them in here and pull them away from their regular jobs, is that what we just want to clarify that, is that what you're asking for? Or you want to have that conversation with me after I collectively meet with all of my department heads,
Right.
put together our budget? I think that's
Right.
what
That's
she's
what
asking for
yes.
clarification. Like, you don't want the IT manager and the procurement manager and the
No.
maintenance manager and all of
I
that in
want the
here.
directors, I
You
want the
want us.
public works
Okay.
director, I want the police chief, I want the finance director, I want, right?
so essentially it'd be the 3 of us then.
Director,
Yeah.
So
It'll be the 3 of
essentially, the
us.
3 of us are the department heads.
No.
Okay.
I don't-
So-
I don't
Yes,
wanna
no,
get down-
'cause
I don't want to get down to the supervisor.
So no department, so we're the
So
department.
we are the
heads.
department
See those 3
heads.
reports.
Hold on just a
That's
second. Sorry about meeting
Yeah.
order here.
Okay, that makes
What's
sense.
that?
We're all talking at the same time. It'd be nice to, go ahead, Kurt.
I'm done.
Okay, so we are the department heads. So Dave has 5 or 6 department he manages. I have what I manage. We're looking to hire a HR manager, and then we're looking to probably hire a director that will oversee the other department. So each department, we have about 10 departments. So Dave has what he oversees, I have what I oversee, and then whatever we have right now sits on that right. So instead of, like Dave mentioned, the communication manager, the marketing manager, all these managers, instead of them coming to you, their department head, we bring all 5 budgets and go,
Correct.
these are the budget. Okay, I'll bring my own department. These are our budgets. Dave will do similar. And then if anybody reports to Ryan, Ryan will do the same. So Ryan will now present well, you don't have any department except me and Dave.
Right. But that'll be part of the admin budget.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, so it'll still be part of
okay,
the overall admin budget, but either way, we'll still present the company budget that would encompass operating and capital. Essentially what you have today and what you had last month. We'll just have a meeting 30 days prior to that initial prelim meeting, as Ryan suggested. We'll have that meeting in May, and we'll call it a study session. We'll just be the board and executive leadership. It'll be open to the public. We'll have a study session where we'll talk about the budget in its entirety, both operating and capital. That will be presented by executive leadership to the board. Right? Okay.
We'll just have another meeting. I mean, it's a meeting. It's a board meeting. I think.
I mean, we can have it,
Yeah,
we can have it at the end.
Every time we meet, where it's a board meeting, so I just don't want to make anybody think that it's any less important than the meetings that we have. It's a budget meeting. So to me, it's just a meeting, but if that's outlined, we do that ahead of time. We do that in May, as outlined there.
Perfect.
That sounds good. There's consensus and you guys can do that.
just for me.
Can we do it like us, say, the same day we have our May board meeting? Maybe we just do it, bump it up like 2 hours earlier or 3 hours earlier, and then do it the same day in May, prior to our May board meeting, just for like, for schedule purposes?
Yeah.
Will that work? So that way we know the May meeting, we'll have a study session at the beginning of the May meeting that would just focus on the budget discussion.
Everybody's
Okay.
fine with that.
So would that make it, I mean, it's a 4 o'clock meeting, so we'd be meeting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Something like that, yeah. At a time that the board, that works for the board. Yeah, because we think about 4 hours, because we said 3-4 hours will work, or 2 hours. I guess we could discuss that as we get closer, but just,
Yeah, as you get closer. you can
Timeline,
look
just
at
thinking
time
that-
and making sure the board can make it and, you know.
yeah, but that's the idea, Matt, Dave. That
Well,
way-
we might not need it to be that long. If there's minimal changes, I think that's all gonna be dependent upon
Yeah.
what we're bringing forward
Yeah.
next year, right?
Yeah, okay, perfect.
What hours do you work?
Well, I'm teaching, so it's 3:30.
Sure.
But
Gotcha.
We can do it.
it could be, okay, yeah, maybe
Maybe after the board
We
meeting.
started, I could get a half, or maybe we start at 3 and we go.
It's a long time between May, so yeah, if
Yeah,
it gets to that point, maybe something.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay,
But-
thank you.
But that's that would be the direction.
I,
moving forward.
I would like to, since this is a meeting too, that seems to be consensus. Is there consensus too if we set up some type of board retreat sometime in the next 3 months?
Sounds good.
Board all right with that?
Yes.
Set up a time with the leadership, a little bit more extended, I think, to kind of get a little idea. You can make that determination as to who you think would be helpful for the board to get a good perspective of some of the types of operations and things you do.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't,
It's like a 1-day retreat?
I don't know that we need a full day, but
Well, it'd be nice and at least I think it would be good to visit some of the operations, maybe it's in the morning and the afternoon, or maybe morning lunch and something like that. So, you know, I know we can get to the other locations. You have buses, so we shouldn't have a problem getting someplace. But I think it would be helpful. We used to do this a lot. I mean, having on site. So it's been a number of years since we've done that, but I think it's probably a good idea. And I think it also is a good idea to kind of see, I think as part of the retreat, we get on a bus and we do a route. We do the routes and especially the new routes. So you get an idea where in your communities these operations are. And, you know, there's nothing says we can't have, we'll have to find out the legal part about having a board move around because we have to make sure that the public has access. So I guess I just answered my question there, but we can move around, but we can certainly have, as long as we have no discussion business, we can take that trip around on the site. Because I think that would be also very helpful for board members.
So like towards the first half and then like an actual session, the second.
Yeah, the sessions have to be open to the public. And so we have to have some place where people can access and getting in on a tour beyond that is still open. If anybody wants to ride the bus at that time, we cannot close that type of general tour to anybody.
Okay.
I don't think there'll be a whole bunch of people waiting in line to get on a bus with us to go. Tour. Where were we on department update?
Yeah, we're done now.
I finished that.
Okay. Sorry about that. This is a longer, this is good. We had a longer meeting. We have this opportunity every meeting, talk about the budget, but.
Otherwise, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
no, are we?
Well,
going
actually,
to
we
the session?
went to a closed session during this meeting, so the regular session, we're gonna recess. Remind me at the end to adjourn after the recess, because we need to come back, reconvene and recess. But we're going to recess and we're going into a closed meeting on personnel.